Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Please join us today in the study of Srimad Bhagavatam. Today we will be covering Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 11, Chapter 29, Bhakti Yoga. So in Uddhava Gita, this is the last chapter of Uddhava Gita. Uddhava Gita is from chapter 6 through 29. Hare Krishna, please join us for Jaradhamara prayers. Namaskar, dear devotees. Please join us for Mangalacharan prayers. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Mudiriyet Shavatam Swakatha Kṛṣṇa Punya Shamana Kirtanaha Hridayantasto Bhadrani Vidhunote Suhasatam Nashta Prayeshva Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavatir Uttam Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki. Hare Kṛṣṇa. So today we'll be studying Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 11, Chapter 29, Bhakti Yoga. This chapter is the last chapter of Uddhava Gita. So we had been studying Uddhava Gita. Uddhava Gita starts from Chapter 6 to Chapter 29 of 11th Canto in Srimad Bhagavatam. First 5 chapters are the setting of the scene for Uddhava Gita. And the last 2 chapters, 30th and 31st, refer to how Lord returned back home with his eternal associates and his devotees, back home to Golok Vrindavan. So this is a beautiful chapter because you can imagine we are talking about Bhakti. Hari Bol. Please join us in the recitation of the first verse of Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 11, Chapter 29, Bhakti Yoga. Verse 1. Shri Uddhava Vacha Sudustaram imam manye Yogacharyamanaatmanaha Yathanjasa puman siddhyet Tanme bruya anjasachyuta. Please.
Shri Uddhava Vacha
Shri Uddhava Vacha
Sudustarami Mamanye
Sudustarami Mamanye Yogacharyamanatmanaha
Yathanjasa Puman Siddhet
Yathanjasa puman siddhyet
Tanme Bruyanjasachyuta
Tanme bruyanjasachyuta. Shri Uddhava Vacha. Shri Uddhav said, Sudustaram. Very difficult to execute. Imam. This. Manye. I think. Yogacharyam. Process of yoga. Anatmanaha. For one who has not controlled his mind. Yatha. How? Anjasa. Easily. Puman. A person. Siddhyet. May accomplish it. Tat. That. May. To me. Bruhi. Please tell. Anjasa. In a simple manner. Achyuta. O infallible Lord. Translation by the disciples of His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada. Shri Uddhav said, My dear Lord Achyuta, I fear that the method of yoga described by you is very difficult for one who cannot control his mind. Therefore, please explain it to me in simple terms, how someone can more easily execute it. There is no purport. So we'll cover the next translation. It has a very small purport. So Uddhav continues.
Translation by disciples.
Yes. So translation by the disciples of His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada, verse 2. O lotus-eyed Lord, generally those yogis who try to steady the mind experience frustration because of their inability to perfect the state of trance. Thus, they weary in their attempt to bring the mind under control. Purport. Without the shelter of the Supreme Lord, a yogi easily becomes discouraged in the difficult task of fixing his mind on the Supreme. Hare Krishna. Please join us for Guru Pranati. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Om Jnana Timrandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Mukham Karoti Vachalam Pangum Langhayate Girim Yat Kripa Tadaham Vande Shri Gurum Deenataranam. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. So normally in each chapter we were seeing one or two blessings, but this chapter, the last chapter, where Lord is first of all simplifying the Bhakti Yoga process, devotional service for us, so that we can develop the taste for devotional service. So again, how to develop taste in a very simple manner, Lord Krishna covers, based on Shri Uddhava's inquiry. And so what are these 4 blessings? So again, before we start with the blessings, first of all, let me wish everyone very happy start of Purushottam Mas. It's also called Adhik Mas, and we all know the glories of Purushottam Mas. This Mas is more dear to Lord Krishna than his own Mas, which is Damodar month, right? Kartik month. And it comes right before Kartik month. So how spacious this is. We are getting, yes, how to develop the taste for Bhakti Yoga. And also this week is further special because there is also whole world is engaged in chanting of the holy name. World Holy Name Week, right? So that is also very auspicious. So let's get together and chant. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. So, happy Purushottam Mas, happy World Holy Name Week, and also happy devotional service. So again, let's do this, and not just for we, let's do it for a lifetime. We have spent so many lifetimes in doing all the mundane things that we are engaged in. Now we have received an opportunity, and this Bhakti Yoga is where Uddhava is asking how to understand it in a simple way. And Lord Krishna is going to explain that. I'll cover the gist of it, for everyone. So let's cover the first 4 blessings. And these blessings are amazing blessings. First one is, anyone who fixes his attention on these clear answers to your questions. So Lord Krishna is telling that anyone who understands and fixes their attention, attentively listens to these simple answers Lord Krishna is giving to Uddhava's question. And Uddhava's question is that previously when Lord talked about Jnana Yoga, Ashtanga Yoga, deity worship, Vachana Vidhi, and then further elaborating on Jnana Yoga in the previous chapter at length as how one can engage, following Jnana in Bhakti Yoga. It looks very complicated. And Shri Uddhava is not sure if we, people in this Kali age, will be able to understand. So he's asking, please explain. So Lord is saying that whoever he has provided, so we'll cover the simpler version as Lord Krishna reveals to Uddhava, as how we can simply, very simply, carry out devotional service, engage in Bhakti Yoga. And whoever understands this will attain. What does he attain? Eternal confidential goal of the Vedas. Will understand the essence of the Vedas, the supreme absolute truth. So again, just spend 5-10 minutes with us to understand the gist, and then we will go into each of those areas where just by giving this little time, 5 to 10 minutes, you will be able to understand something that relates to the absolute truth. Sat, which is eternal, Chit, which is full in knowledge, Anand, which is transcendental place. So all these three factors, and Lord is Satchitanand Vigraha. He is the one who is form of eternity, knowledge and bliss. So he is revealing himself to us in very simple manner. Now what's the blessing? Second blessing. Second blessing is one who liberally disseminates this knowledge among my devotees is the bestower of the absolute truth. And to him I give my very own self. So if you are looking to get Kṛṣṇa, you want to liberally disseminate this knowledge. So please share this video on Facebook and other locations, YouTube and wherever you want to, please share, because this way you will be disseminating this knowledge to other devotees and other living entities who are eager to understand devotional service in very simple terms. And Lord Kṛṣṇa is himself giving this blessing. Then comes the third blessing. So he who loudly recites this supreme knowledge, which is the most lucid and purifying, right, becomes purified day by day. So we loudly recite this beautiful narration, Bhakti Yoga, in very simple terms, then we'll get purified day by day, for he reveals me to others with the lamp of transcendental knowledge. So again, we have been talking about sharing this knowledge. So first is hearing, right? Shravanam. And when we have done a lot of hearing, then of course comes chanting. Chanting of the holy name, chanting of the glories of Lord Shri Kṛṣṇa, Sankirtan Yajna, congregational chanting. So please chant the glories of Lord Shri Kṛṣṇa, and especially this knowledge about Bhakti Yoga. Now what's the fourth blessing? Lord Kṛṣṇa is revealing after chanting. So now that you have done the hearing, you have disseminated this knowledge, shared with other devotees, and now you yourself are chanting, then after chanting, engage in devotional service, because by engaging in devotional service with the attitude of love, with attention, with humility, with gratitude, when you are constantly serving Lord Shri Kṛṣṇa for his pleasure, as he wants, anukulena Kṛṣṇa anukshilanam, as Lord Kṛṣṇa wants, favorably as he wants, then there will not be any reaction to your actions. Rather, the reaction of your past sinful actions will be destroyed in due course of time by engaging in devotional service, which simply starts with the chanting of the holy name. Hare Kṛṣṇa, Hare Kṛṣṇa, Kṛṣṇa Kṛṣṇa, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. So if one is constantly engaged in devotional service, that person is directly in the presence of sun, right? Kṛṣṇa Surya Sama Maya He Antakara. Yaha Kṛṣṇa Taha Nahi Mayara Adhikara. So Lord Kṛṣṇa is like a brilliant sun, rising sun, while Maya is like darkness. So when the sun is there, how can there be any darkness? All that darkness will be driven away by the brilliance of the sun, by the sunlight, effulgently spreading everywhere and making us see the truth as it is. So we can perceive what is what in this material world. We can be out of the illusion, right? One of the defects is propensity to be deluded. So there are 4 defects in this material world, right? In the conditioned life that we face. Human is right? We have propensity to make mistakes. Now and then, even though when we do something, there is a possibility that we can make mistakes, right? Even after doing it many times, there is possibility. So that is human is Second is, we have imperfect senses, right? So our senses are not perfect. Even to see, we have to wear glasses. So how could we? Is delusion, propensity to be deluded. So this material energy creates an illusion, make us believe that Lord Kṛṣṇa, he created this material world, then he left. And now this material world is filled with all these sense objects that we are supposed to be enjoying, And then the slogan in this darkness, in this dark night becomes, eat, sleep and be merry. So one forgets the true consciousness which is the consciousness of the soul, Sanatan Dharma. And what's the eternal position, the consciousness of the soul is? Jivera Swarupa Hare Kṛṣṇera Nityadas. So our very Swarup, our very constitutional position is an eternal servant of Lord Shri Krishna. As an eternal servant, we should be constantly serving him. But being deluded by Maya, Mahamaya, right? We think that all these sense objects are meant for our enjoyment. And so we get bewildered. And when we try to enjoy, then what do we see? That we are not getting satisfied because our target is always moving. It's like mirage. So there is constant coldness, darkness and fear that we experience in delusion. However, when Lord Krishna is in our life, when he is in the center, and we are engaging all our activities to please him, and Lord Krishna says with mind, body and word. So action can only be performed, three ways. With mind, right? Mind has this job of it's constantly accepting and rejecting things. Then second is body. This body is constantly engaged under the modes of material nature in various kind of activities. And then words. Our tongue constantly likes to engage in different kind of talks. However, we engage all these three aspects in devotional service, in pleasing Lord Shri Krishna, in glorifying him, in serving him, in meditating about his name, form, activities, pastimes. Then everything becomes clear. Just like when we are in the presence of a brightly shining sun and no cloud is covering that sun, right? Because this cloud is like delusion, which actually covers us. There is no cloud that's covering the sun. It's actually covering us. So we cannot get the light from the sun. So that is an important aspect. Now Uddhava is asking, well, my dear Lord, so first we are covering the gist of this chapter. Uddhava is saying, my dear Lord, this Bhakti Yoga process that you have explained till now, like 28 chapters, right? And Lord Krishna very in a relaxing mode elaborately explained, but became very technical at points when we came to, Archana Vidhi, which is worshipping, deity worship, and then how devotional service surpasses renunciation and knowledge, and so many chapters were there. So these appear to be very complex to understand. And everywhere it was said, control your mind, control your mind, control your mind. And then Uddhava is saying that in this material world, this Kali age, people may not have the intelligence to control the mind. They would not have that capability, right? It is so difficult to control the mind. Even Arjun, he has expressed that controlling the mind is more difficult than subduing the wind. He said that mind is what? Chanchalam. It is restless. Mind is pramadhi. It is turbulent. And balavad, again, obstinate and very strong. Dridam. So again, he is using very strong words to say that mind is very difficult to control. Chanchalam hi manah Kṛṣṇa pramadhi balavad dridam. Tasyaham nigraham manye vayur ivasu dushkaram. So he is saying that the mind is restless, turbulent, obstinate and very strong. Right? If mind is so strong, how can you control it? And this is Arjun, who is Dhananjaya, who is Gudakesha. He has won over his sleep. And he is the best warrior on this, at the time of Kurukshetra war. And so he is saying, oh Krishna, and to subdue it. And this is who is saying, Arjun is saying. He thinks that it is more difficult than controlling the wind. So he hears the promise to control the wind, but he doesn't think that mind can be controlled. And yes, our mind in one moment can be in Vrindavan, thinking of Shri Radha Balaram ji, right? And then can be back here where we are, in a fraction of a moment. And then in another fraction of a moment we can go to Mayapur and think of Shri Radha Madhav ji, Panch Tattva, right? So again, so many wonderful devotees we can think of, how we interact with them and so forth. So it's so easy. And then of all the things, just by thinking of prasadam, we can actually feel the taste on our tongue. That's the amazing characteristic of mind. So it is very difficult to control. So again, just by thinking of prasadam, it can take us there, back in time. So if you talk about time travel, mind knows how to do time travel. So he is saying that it is very difficult. So can you make it simple? So this is actually, he is very compassionate towards us. And so this was the first reason. He gives 4 reasons why Lord Krishna should explain this devotional service, Bhakti Yoga, in simple terms. First is, mind is very difficult to control. What's the second one? That fallen souls in this Kali age, it is, it's less intelligent, it's lazy, it's unlucky, it's constantly disturbed, right? Prayena alpa yusha sabhya kalavasmin yuge janaha mandasa manda matyo mand bhagyo praduta. It's unlucky also. This is, in the first canto, when Sutta Goswami is discussing with sages at Naimisharanya, and then he describes the whole Srimad Bhagavatam, that Shukdev Goswami spoke to Parikshit Maharaj. So at that time it has been discussed already that in this Kali age, praya alpayu, men have short lives. So in the current age, 100 years is the maximum, right? More like, and now it's even reducing. It will reduce down to near the end of the Kali age to 20 years would be a large lifespan. So you can imagine, that's hardly any life. So, alpayu, kalavasmin yugejana, and it's quarrelsome, kalav, kala, constantly quarrelsome. So man, they only need to be triggered and then they start quarreling. And this is where Srila Prabhupada talks about in many of his Pandal programs back in 1970. He was saying in Calcutta that Hindu Muslims, they were living very peacefully. But at the time of separation, the landlords and politicians, they incited religiosity, as a divide and rule policy. And millions, it is said that more than 2 million Indians were killed because of the civil war that internally started, because of the, at the time of separation, partition time, just because it was triggered. Otherwise, Hindu Muslims, they have been living very peacefully, very lovingly with each other, nicely with each other in a very nice society. So this is what, very quickly they are disturbed and they start slaughtering each other. Manda is lazy, man is lazy. So if we say, oh, get up, at 4 a.m., start, getting ready, go for Mangalati, most of the time mode of ignorance more than mode of passion kicks in and says, oh, no, I can always attend the Shingarati, 10 o'clock one, 10:30 or so. So that is the attitude of mind. It always, bewilders us, so lazy. Sumanda matyo, intelligence is lost, very little intelligence. So such heavy matter that has been discussed, Uddhava is identifying that people are not very intelligent, so they need simple terms, explain in simple ways. Mandabhagya, and because they do not know the purpose of life and they are engaging in all kind of frivolous activities, they are unlucky by nature. So that is the attitude, the people are unlucky by nature. And upradutaha, and they are constantly disturbed, constantly living in anxiety. So it is even on the earthly planets. Previously we discussed that yes, hellish planets, people are constantly feeling pain. Heavenly planets, they are constantly feeling pleasure. On earthly planets, there is a combination of pleasure and pain, so there is, yes, devotional service can be performed easily. However, if you are constantly in anxiety, constantly in fear, then you are mostly, living, even on earth planet, you are living hellish life. So again, you have to be very, very careful that what is the purpose of life and what kind of activities are we engaging in. Because if we are in darkness, it's very difficult to see objects as they are, and we do not know, and it's very easy to get hurt in darkness. While we are in light, you can see everything very clearly. So Kṛṣṇa Surya Sama, Maya here and the Kara. So Maya causes this delusion where we are hurting ourselves again and again and wondering why this is happening. Then the third reason he asks, Uddhava is asking, again, why is he asking that please Lord explain Bhakti Yoga in simple ways, devotional service in simple words, simple terms, is that he as a devotee of the Lord understands our condition in this Kali age and is very compassionate. So Lord is compassionate, Bhoktaram Yagatapsam Sarvalok Maheshwaram. Suhridam Sarvabhutanam. So Lord Krishna is saying that I am the best friend, well-wisher, the benefactor of every living entity. And so are the devotees. They are the well-wisher of all living entities. And we all understand this. And that's why we pray every morning. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya evacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. So this is a prayer paying obeisances to all the Vaishnavas, understanding that they are just like the desire trees, kalpataru, right? They can fulfill desires of all living entities, and they are especially compassionate towards the fallen conditioned souls. So we understand that the true friend that we have is a Vaishnava, a pure devotee of Lord Shri Krishna. So that's why devotee association is paramount, right? And so the fourth reason is, when Uddhava is asking this, he actually being very intelligent. So it was not that he had any difficulty understanding what Lord Krishna is saying. Sometimes people, they read this chapter and they say, oh, actually Uddhava was not very intelligent because he could not understand the previous chapters even we can understand. Well, theory is one place, practice is another place. So theory is good, it's knowledge, but practice leads to realization, experiences, and it is more important, right? So we have to understand how can we simply follow up, the process of devotional service and experience the purification, experience the transcendental bliss, experience ourselves being awakened in our true position and a constitutional position. That is very important. So Uddhava being very intelligent, and he is a disciple of Brihaspati, the spiritual master of the demigods, and he acts as an advisor to the Yadavas, right? Rajya sacrifice occasion. Lord Krishna asked him to give advice. What should they do? Should they go and try to kill Jarasandha, or should they go and attend Rajya sacrifice that Yudhishthira Maharaj is preparing for? And Uddhava provides solutions. Many times Lord Krishna and Ugrasen and other Yadavas, they seek Uddhava's advice. So that is also very important, that he already understands. He is a pure devotee of Lord. He is cousin of Lord. He is the best friend. He is constantly serving Lord Shri Krishna 24/7. So what does he have to learn? Now actually he understands that with the coming time, men will not be as intelligent. They will not be able to follow the complicated looking process. It's actually complicated looking only because when Lord Krishna explains it becomes so simple that anybody can follow, even a child can follow devotional service. So he is looking to benefit all of humanity. So that is the attitude. He is seeking that Lord Krishna, please reveal the secrets so that whole of humanity, and especially us in this Kali age, can benefit. So he is acting just like who later appeared in this Kali age? Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he spread the mercy of Godhead, right? Previously we received the constant mercy in the form of anukampa, right? Which is in the form as Lord is coming and giving benedictions to his various devotees, to his various associates. However, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he is actually running after. He goes to this South Indian tour and he is approaching people, right? In all of the avatars, the devotees have to approach. And sometimes if the devotees are feeling afraid to approach, even Lord Brahma, when Narasimhadev appears, he sings his prayers and all the demigods, they are singing the prayers, but they are finding it difficult to approach. Even Goddess Lakshmi, Goddess of Fortune, she doesn't feel comfortable approaching Lord Narasimhadev. He is in so much anger. At that time, Lord Brahma requests who? Who's this personality Lord Brahma is requesting to pacify Lord Narasimhadev? None other than Prahlad Maharaj. He says, my dear Prahlad, Lord Narasimhadev seems to be very angry at your father, of the deeds of your father. So please try to pacify him. And it was Prahlad Maharaj who approached Lord Narasimhadev. And then when Lord Narasimhadev placed his palm on Lord Prahlad Maharaj's head, he was just a boy, 7-year-old boy. And then he said, all his impurities were instantly cleansed. And he was saying that even Goddess of Lakshmi and Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva have not received this beautiful benediction
of you placing your head in this loving mood, like you have done it on with me. So as you have placed your head on me. So Prahlad Maharaj, when I had the opportunity to ask for benediction, what did he say? First he said, this is not a trade exchange, right? So this loving devotional service is not seeking fruits of one's labor. It's not a fruitive activity. It is giving activity of love. It is a loving exchange of giving. Yes, accepting comes later on, but his main focus is giving, being an order supply of Lord Shri Krishna, to seek his orders and satisfy those orders. And so this is where Prahlad Maharaj's attitude was. And then when Lord Nrsimhadev further pressed on, Prahlad asked for something. He says that, what did he ask for first? He asked that, please, my father, forgive him. And then Lord Nrsimhadev said that the moment I touched your father, Hiranyakashipu, he was completely purified. And Prahlad, where a devotee like you is born, 7 generations above you, 7 generations below you, after you, descendants, and 7 relationships laterally. All these 21 generations are automatically delivered. So such is the compassion of a devotee. And then Prahlad Maharaj says, I do not care much about myself. I care about these fallen conditioned souls and how to deliver them. So he was not so much concerned about himself. A devotee of the Lord will be happy whether he is in heaven, hell or earth. It doesn't matter. Whichever yoni he is in, he is constantly meditating on Lord Shri Krishna, constantly chanting, Hare Kṛṣṇa, Hare Kṛṣṇa, Kṛṣṇa Kṛṣṇa, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. So that is the mood Uddhava has. He is feeling that what about the conditioned souls? He is feeling compassion for us, towards us. He is saying, oh Lord, make it so simple that even these fallen, lazy, not very intelligent, constantly in anxiety, living in anxiety, constantly disturbed and ready to quarrel just with the lighting of a match. Such fallen conditioned souls, they can also take to devotional service. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he was running after everyone to take to devotional service. He was spreading Sankirtana movement because he appears not just Lord Shri Krishna but also in Radharani's mode. So mother is more compassionate than father, we know. Now we see in the form of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. As just by having his mood, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is saying that please take to this chanting of the holy name. And Srila Narottam Das Thakur in his prayers, he is saying that this holy name is actually Goloka Premadhana, Harinama Sankirtana. He is identifying that this Harinam Sankirtana is the topmost treasure of Golok Vrindavan, which is the topmost spiritual planet. And from that perspective we should understand. Now what are the reasons? Why? So Uddhava discusses various reasons why people will not be able to take to devotional service, as Lord Krishna explained in very technical terms like deity worship, how devotional service surpasses knowledge and renunciation and so forth. A lot of technicalities and so forth. He is giving examples that even yogis experience frustration in controlling the mind, right? We talked about Mana Chanchala Krishna. So again, even Arjun said that it is very difficult to control mind. So yogis, they get frustrated. Even in Satyuga, Vishwamitra, sage Vishwamitra, he was enticed by Menaka. And that was after 60,000 years of meditation. We don't have so much time. And then if we can fall down, you can imagine how dangerous that situation is. So that example is in front of us. Then he gives the reasons that Hamsas, people who were born in Satyuga, they were born as devotees. They transcended the 3 modes of material nature. So someone asked, what is transcendental? It is not beyond dental. Sometimes people say, okay, it's not that what comes after you have lost all your teeth. No, it is not that. Transcendental is which is spiritual, above the three modes of material nature, above the influence of the three modes of material nature. So you may be living in this world, having your body, and carrying out your prescribed duties as per the three modes of material nature, but you are doing all your activities as living entities, Jivera Surupa Krishna Nityadas, aligning all your prescribed duties to your Sanatan Dharma, your Swadharma with Sanatan Dharma. So they are perfectly in balance, aligned. So that is where it becomes transcendental. Arjuna, he was on the battlefield as a Kshatriya. So as a Kshatriya, he was, there to fight, for the right cause. And that was a very well sought cause. And when he became bewildered because of his bodily associations, various kind of designations associated with the body, he was thinking that I'm a disciple of Dronacharya. How can I shoot arrows at him? I'm a grandson of Bhishma Pitama. How can I shoot arrows at my grandsire? I have all these friends and relatives gathered here. I have these relationships. I am, related with them. So how can I fight with them? How can I, and he was feeling lost that if I fight with them and they will be killed, because he's such a strong warrior, he's such an expert warrior, then who will he enjoy all this kingdom with? So he is associating with the body. He's thinking at the bodily level. And Lord Krishna understands that Arjuna has lost his balance. His prescribed duties is some, and all these different upadhis, these different designations associated with his body are conflicting in alignment of his prescribed duties with his constitutional position. So this is where Bhagavad Gita was spoken. And we learn that there Arjuna once established, he says, yes, I have understood what you have shared with me and I am ready to carry out my duties, because he is perfectly aligned. So even as a Kshatriya, as a fighter, he is carrying out his duties as Lord Krishna desires. So even his prescribed duties for the satisfaction of Lord Krishna becomes devotional service. He is using his anger to serve Krishna. He's fighting, using his anger, because you cannot fight with someone if you're not angry enough, because it also enables you to get excited and, focus and, achieve your goals. So that is Kshatriya quality in the mode of passion. So Arjuna carries out his prescribed duties under the influence of the modes of passion, but he becomes transcendental, transcends the three modes, because he is engaging all his activities to please Lord Shri Krishna. So even the prescribed duties which are driven by the three modes of material nature, when carried out in devotion to satisfy Lord Shri Krishna, who is also known as Rishikesha, master of the senses, then they become transcendental. So we transcend the influence of the three modes of material nature, because really the three modes of material nature want us to engage in activities which deludes us and makes us forget our true relationship with Lord Shri Krishna. That Lord Krishna is the Supreme Father. He is our most dear friend. He is always seeking our benefit. He is present in our heart as Super Soul, Paramatma, as overseer and permitter. And without him, not a leaf moves. So we have to properly understand. So in Satyuga, Hamsas were there, the yogis and karmis, they fail due to the Lord's illusory energy. So he is saying that, yes, Satyuga time, it was different, but we see even there the yogis were failing. What to talk about Kali age, where, three limbs of the religion are already destroyed, only truthfulness remains, and with the advancement of Kali age, even truthfulness will vanish. And then he gives a reason that, my dear Lord, you give your exclusive, like you bless those who are your exclusive servants, who take exclusive shelter at your lotus feet. And he gives the references like even Kimpurushas. Kimpurushas are people who either have a face or a body of a human being, but not both. So like monkeys he is referring to, and he is referring to Hanumanji, a Kimpurusha, because he had the face of a monkey, but he has a strong body like that of a human being. A hairy body, yes, very much monkey-like looking, but strong arms and so forth. So he is saying that even to animals you bestow mercy. When Lord Krishna appeared in Vrindavan, We all know how he was having loving exchanges with the cows and the calves. Right? Even the trees of Vrindavan were cherishing this loving exchange from Lord Shri Krishna. When he would pluck the fruit and he would eat it, when he would climb the tree, when he would sit in the hole in a tree and play with his friends, when they would be taking the shelter of a tree at raining times with all the other cowherd boys, when they will be eating together with all the cowherd boys under the shade of a tree or at the bank of a river. So even there we see the river, the trees, the herbs, everything was experiencing transcendental bliss. Yet at the same time they had to take shelter, they had to be in Vrindavan, right? So that is an important aspect. So Uddhava is saying that please be more compassionate so that you spread this knowledge, means you provide this knowledge in so simpler terms that anybody can understand it. So that's another aspect. Then he starts to identify Uddhava. Why is he giving this, asking this question that, my dear Lord, please explain Bhakti Yoga in simpler terms? Because he is identifying the unfortunate state of man in this Kali age, where man in this Kali age, they reject the Lord due to ignorance, because of forgetfulness. He is saying that who could be more foolish, who would not accept you, right? And knowing that you are all in all, right? You are the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So actually people who do not accept, they are foolish. They reject the Lord. So that is the unfortunate state of man in this age. He is also saying that frustrated men endeavoring for perfection and senses and success, they get frustrated in due course of time, because instead of serving Lord Shri Krishna, they are trying to serve their senses. They are putting their sense gratification in the center, themselves in the center, I and mine. So that's also very important. We already talked about, just like with the example of Arjun, that he was thinking, I am so and so, right? And sometimes we also think, I am an Indian, I am an American, I am a white male, or I am a black male, or I am a woman. Even that, man or a woman, that's bodily designation. The living entity is just eternal servant. So that's the main focus. So we should, not become frustrated when trying to engage in all kind of mundane, fruitive activities for sense gratification. We should be very careful. So we should not be ungrateful. So he is saying that people who take your shelter, who endeavor in your service, they attain all kind of perfections and they attain all kind of successes in their life. So their life becomes blissful, their life becomes successful. But those who do not follow your instruction, who do not engage in devotion service, they become frustrated. And such men are ungrateful. Why? Why is someone like that called ungrateful? It is very important to understand. Say for example, you have a car you have been given by your employer to drive to work every day, right? From point A to point B, your home to work. And your employer has said, I'm giving you this car, just come to work every morning and then leave every evening. And that's the purpose of a car. But then you use the car every morning not to go to work, but to go to a picnic spot with your family, right? Not to engage with his service, but rather to engage in your sense gratification. Would your employer be happy? If somebody gives you, then even your friend would not be happy. If he said that, okay, I will send a car to pick you up so that you can come to my place and we will have a nice prasadam after offering it to the Lordship, we'll have nice prasadam. And his car comes and you tell your wife and children, yes, the car is here, let's go for picnic. And instead of going to your friend's place where they are chanting the glories of Lord Shri Krishna and performing nice bhajan and then distributing prasadam, you take his car that has come to pick you up to a picnic spot where you enjoy with your family away from everyone else. Do you think your friend would be happy? No. Even there will be some, bad feelings. So think about this. This body we have received is from Lord Shri Krishna. Everything that we have received comes from Lord Shri Krishna. Bhoktaram yagatapasam sarvalok maheshwaram. He is the supreme proprietor of all material and spiritual universes. He has provided everything. If we don't use it in his service, then of course we are in forgetfulness. And in this case, we would be frustrated. So that's the next point. accepting for material enjoyment, causes forgetfulness. And this forgetfulness is we forget our relationship with Lord Shri Krishna. And this is the influence of material energy. So it's not that material energy is something else. Our mind is made of material energy. Our intelligence is made of material energy. The false ego is made of material energy. With I, with different designations, envy arises. So we want to take someone who's at a higher position. We want to take that position. And we want to exploit ones who are at below positions when we are influenced by false ego. And mind leads to lust. So that's another aspect. So this lusty desires to enjoy away from Lord Shri Krishna, instead of engaging in serving Lord Shri Krishna, causes this lust, and people like to hoard different things. And it is very well said that there is enough on this planet Earth to meet everyone's need, but there is not enough to meet even one man's greed. So that's very important for us to understand. And then Uddhava is giving the final reason is that devotees of the Lord, they don't lack anything when they are engaged in devotional service. While in other places where people who have acquired things, they lack everything, they are not satisfied. Because without Krishna, there is constant Kṛṣṇa, there is constant hunger, there is constant thirst. Right? So that is also another aspect where Uddhava is saying that one who has tasted the sweet nectar of your devotional service by engaging in your devotional service, who had come in contact with you, he would be completely satisfied, just like one feels the thirst is satisfied when one has drank sweet nectar. So you can think of whatever the best drink that you like to drink. After having offered it to the Lordship, you get to drink that drink. You feel so nice at heart, right? Versus somebody keeps just telling you that yes, you do this and then you will get it. And then when you do all that fruitive activities, putting your senses in the center, when you're engaging, working for the miserly people, working for covetous people, working for evil people, when you are constantly engaging, and at the end they tell you this is the picture of what you were looking for. And every time you get the picture, you say, okay, this is not what I was looking for. And sometimes it appears that this is exactly what you were looking for. They will show you advertisements, and these advertisements are coming from hell. So that's another aspect. So now Uddhava starts glorifying that the transcendental poets and experts, as devotees, they feel grateful for Lord's mercy. So he's glorifying that, Lord, please explain devotional service in simpler terms. Please explain Bhakti Yoga, the process of devotional service, in very simpler terms, so that the man in this current age who cannot control their mind, they can easily take to it. And even the great experts, they have, the yogis and the poets, they have glorified Lord Shri Krishna with gratitude. So we should be grateful that we have received everything in our life. And realize Lord, and such devotees, they realize Lord in two forms. So this is Uddhava revealing. First is Chaitya Guru, as super soul in our heart, as overseer and permitter. He is residing, Lord Krishna has expanded. As super soul, he is residing in our heart. And then, because we cannot see him, because we cannot perceive him, this is in the 12th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. He says, Lord Krishna says that it is very difficult for one to perceive super soul who is residing in the heart, because he is unembodied. He is not made of material senses. So how can one who is made of material senses, perceive something that is even more subtle than the material senses, right? So that has been Kleshu adhik tarastesham avyakta sakta chetasam avyakta hi gatir dukkham dehavat bhirvyapyate. It is very difficult, dukkham, dehavat, before the embodied soul to see the unembodied. That doesn't mean that he doesn't have a form. He has transcendental form as super soul also in our heart. So that he is appearing as Chaitya Guru. So from our heart, the super soul, Lord Shri Krishna, he gives us instructions as Chaitya Guru, and he appears outside and externally as Acharya, as our spiritual master. So our spiritual master, he is another form and manifestation of Lord Shri Krishna. And Srila Prabhupada said very simply that A spiritual master always says that he is a servant of God. However, we serve our spiritual master as a representative of God, as if he is God himself. So he is revealing Lord Kṛṣṇa to us. So tad vidhi pranipatena pariprashnena sevya updeksyanti tajjnanam jnaninas tattvadarshina. So as per the process, when we follow the process, and what is the process laid down? Vidhi pariprash. So we have to perform devotional service. We have to serve our spiritual master and humbly inquire from spiritual master, right? And then our spiritual master would reveal us the absolute truth. He will enable us to engage in devotional service so we can attain the absolute truth. We can attain Lord Shri Kṛṣṇa. So that is the process. So we have to follow the process. We cannot skip the process. That is very important. Now when Uddhava has given such nice reasons and why Lord should explain in simpler terms, Lord Kṛṣṇa reveals the answers. So what is it that Lord Kṛṣṇa is sharing with Uddhava? He is saying that I am sharing the principles of devotional service for the mortal man, for the man of this age, where the men are not very intelligent, they are very quarrelsome, they have very less life span, and they are very unlucky and they are constantly disturbed. For this kind of man in this Kali age, I am revealing this supreme knowledge, right? So why is it supreme knowledge? Bhakti Yoga, in the 9th chapter, Lord Kṛṣṇa reveals to Arjuna, Rajavidra Rajguhyam Pavitram Idam Uttamam. So this is king of all knowledge, and Rajguhyam, it is the supreme secret. Pavitram, it is purifying, and it is the best, Uttamam. Pratyakshvavagmam dharmyam. So just by following it, we can perceive the purification happening. We can perceive, the change, the transformation we are going through. That is visible, that is realized when we engage in devotional service. So now he gives 15 aspects, but they are in basically 2 sections. So he makes it so easy. So Lord Kṛṣṇa is saying that perform prescribed duties without becoming impetuous, which is without becoming suddenly bewildered or disturbed. Don't get anxious, just perform your prescribed duties thinking of me, for my pleasure. Because Lord Kṛṣṇa says, Chaturvarna maya shishtam guna karma vivagasha. So he has established the Chaturvarna, the Varnashram dharma, so that people carry out their prescribed duties and in due course of time they will be purified. So that's the first aspect he's saying. Now, how do we, so the prescribed duties would be karma, right? Pious karma. So they have good reactions, but these are fruitive reactions, right? So we'll get good fruits to gain happy, but that is flickering happiness. However, we can turn that flickering happiness into eternal happiness just by offering whatever we do at the lotus feet of Lord Shri Kṛṣṇa. So that comes the second point within this. So we should offer one's mind and intelligence to Lord Shri Kṛṣṇa. So whatever we do, whatever we accept and whatever we reject, we should do it by keeping in mind that we want to do it to please Lord Shri Kṛṣṇa. So that is, we also call it a smart mantra for the mind, right? To accept or reject things associated with Lord Shri Kṛṣṇa. Smartavyo yatatam Vishnu vismartavyo na jatu chit sarve vidhi nishedasyur etayor kinkara. Always remember Lord Shri Kṛṣṇa, never forget Lord Shri Kṛṣṇa. So these are the 2 very important principles. Sarve vidhi nishedasyur. All the rules and regulations are subservient to these 2 principles. So we should constantly remember, and to remember, the process is very easy. We should constantly chant Hare Kṛṣṇa, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. So Srila Prabhupada, he always was instructing on understanding the urgency of this life. The life is very flickering, and to become fearless, to be in light, to be able to understand our true position, and to be able to go back home, back to Godhead, to attain the love of Godhead, we should constantly chant the holy name. And so much so that even in the back of our mind, we should constantly be chanting the holy name, so that even at the time of death, when our body parts may be giving away, this background sound, this background music of chanting should not stop. It should become our very second nature. Just like gopis in the Vipralambha Bhava, in the mode of separation, they were constantly chanting Lord's name. Then Lord says that one should take shelter of holy place where devotees reside. So again, in this time of pandemic, Bhagavad Gita group is there and so many other groups where constant pravachan, constant discourses and congregational chanting of the holy name is taking place. So please come to these groups, please engage in devotional service, please listen to all the discourses you can. This is Purushottam Mas, right? So at this time it is very important for us to develop the taste for devotional service, and even a little engagement in devotional service can save us from the greatest danger. So please chant with me. Hare Kṛṣṇa, Hare Kṛṣṇa, Kṛṣṇa Kṛṣṇa, Hare Hare, Hare Rāma, Hare Rāma, Rāma Rāma, Hare Hare. And celebrate the holy days that have been set aside because they are Madhav Tithi, right? They lead to fanning the spark of devotion. So that is also there. Then Lord Krishna comes to the next level. So first is prescribed duties dovetail in devotion. So yat karoshi yadashnasi yajyoshi tadasya yat tapasyasi kaunteya sat tat karusho madapram. So Lord Krishna revealed to Arjuna that whatever you do, whatever you offer, whatever you give away, whatever activity you engage in, do it as an offering to me. So this is a simple way. First he is telling. Then the second step he is identifying is have an equal vision. So look at everyone with that equal vision. This is in Bhagavad Gita 5:18. Vidya vinaya sampanne brahmane gavi hastini shuni chaiva ashvapakecha pandita samadarshina. So become samadarshina. Right? So see everyone with equal vision, understanding that Lord is residing in every living entity's heart as super soul, and every living entity is very dear to Lord Shri Krishna, and every living entity has one great quality and one exchange, a specific kind of quality that when engaged in serving Lord Shri Krishna, that is the only way Lord Krishna gets satisfied in that particular characteristic. So unlimited living entities, unlimited ways to serve Lord Shri Krishna and give him pleasure. And when we give pleasure to Rishikesha, master of the senses, all our senses experience transcendental bliss. And when we are engaging in devotional service, we transcend the influence of the three modes. So we rise above the influence of the three modes. We come free of the influence of the three modes and we experience transcendental bliss. We reach the Brahman stage. Brahma bhuta prasannatma na shochati na kankshati samah sarveshu bhuteshu mad bhaktim labhate param. So one who is at Brahma bhuta stage does not lament about the past, na shochati. So he is not anxious about what happened in the past. Na kankshati, is not anxious about the future. He is not aspiring to get another fruits in the future. Samah sarveshu, he is focusing on present. But Srila Prabhupada said to stay in the present, you have to have strong engagement. That's why he converted Bhakti Yoga as devotional service. It's an active engagement. So every moment we should be engaged with devotion in serving Lord Shri Krishna as he desires for his pleasure. That is the mode we should take. So now, na shochati na kankshati samah sarveshu bhuteshu. So a person a devotee at Brahman stage, one who's reached Brahman stage, is looking at everyone with equal vision. So this is what Lord Shri Krishna is revealing here, looking at everyone and not with the dualities or relativity of this world, because the moment we fall down to dualities, then we have been deluded by the material energy, then we have done ourselves great harm. We should not think that this is my friend, that is my enemy. Rather, we should understand that everyone, living entity, is very dear to Lord Shri Krishna, and we should seek devotee association. Yes, in the mood of giving and exchanging. So the 6 loving exchanges we have discussed so many times. And with that equal vision, we become wise. And by becoming wise, we seek Sat. Sat is eternal, absolute, not Asat. Asat is temporary, belonging to this world. So we rise above the dualities with equal vision And by meditating on the Supreme Personality of Godhead, that destroys all rivalry, it destroys all envy, it destroys all abuse, and it destroys the false ego. So we have to focus ourselves, understanding that there is no friend and enemy, rather every living entity is very dear to Lord Shri Krishna. So of course, if he is the best wisher of every living entity, we should become well-wisher of each other. That should be the attitude. And even when somebody is engaged in this manner, Lord Krishna says that he should pay obeisances even to the dog and the dog eater. And now when somebody does that, of course they will be ridiculed, because materially driven people, they will ridicule such person, right? They will not be able to understand the devotion and the simple manner why this person is simply paying obeisances to all living entities. So Lord Krishna reveals that even when one is ridiculed by one's companions, one's relatives and friends, he should not be disturbed. He should not, disregard his prescribed duties, engagement in devotional service. And well, if you are not able to come to the equal vision, how do you come to that level? So Lord Krishna reveals to Uddhava that by performing worship, one should continue to engage in worship until one acquires this equal vision. Because we talked about bhajana kriya, anartha nivrati. So the effect of engaging in devotional service, especially worship, archana vidhi, one is purified. So all those anarthas, all those unwanted things are driven away, the relativity of this world. And one should engage, like we talked about, all his activities with mind, body and words. Those are the ways we perform activities in devotion to Lord Shri Krishna, in serving Lord Shri Krishna. And then he is saying what is best. Devotional service where the mind, body and words are used to realize the Supreme Personality of Godhead with equal vision. So now he is combining prescribed duties, equal vision in devotional service, and that is the best combination, he is saying. And that there is no loss in devotional service because it has been established by Lord Shri Krishna. So who established devotional service Bhakti Yoga? Lord Krishna himself, he established it. And that's why when you perform the best of all activities in the best of all months, you can imagine that you have best of all worlds, right? Purushottam Mass and the engagement in devotional service. It simply starts with the chanting of the holy name and hearing the name, fame and glories of Lord Shri Krishna. Hare Kṛṣṇa, Hare Kṛṣṇa, Kṛṣṇa Kṛṣṇa, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. So, when we perform devotional service, now Lord Krishna is repeating his additional instructions, because sometimes when we just hear this section, they're intelligent people, they try to cut corners, find shortcuts. He's saying that when devotional service is performed without expecting fruitive returns, right? That is actual religion. So the actual religion is engaging in devotional service without seeking fruitive results, and this knowledge frees us from all doubts and bestows liberation, helps us attain the goal of this life. So whatever the purpose has been set, which is to develop love of Godhead, we can attain that. We can liberate ourselves and go back home, back to Godhead, and not stay at this place in this material world where there is danger at every step. And now after describing this, Lord Krishna is talking to Uddhava. He is saying, have you completely understood what I just explained? Do you have any doubt, or is your anxiety and doubts all vanquished? Have they all gone? And Uddhava, for a moment, he experiences ecstatic symptoms in his body. His voice chokes up, his face reddens up, and he is not able to speak. So he calms down. His hair is standing because Lord Krishna has made it so simple for us to understand devotional service in this chapter, that he is completely in trance. And thinking of this, Shukdev Goswami goes in trance as well. So he starts identifying some of these aspects. So he is understanding that, yes, my dear Lord, I have understood. And then Lord Krishna, he warns Uddhava about something, that one should not share this knowledge with hypocritical people, like hypocrites who say something but who do something else. One should not share this with atheists, especially ones who are envious of Lord Shri Krishna. They are dishonest in their dealings. They are thinking, I'm doing it for Lord Shri Krishna, but actually in the back of their mind, they're doing it for themselves. And non-devotees, and one who is not humble, because they would be challenging his position. Why this warning is there? Because such people will fall down, further down. So we don't want to, make people suffer more. So that's why we don't share. Otherwise, devotees, they want to share this wealth of knowledge with everyone so that one can rise above. One can come together. That's why we talked in the last class. The Vaishnavas want to unite the whole world. And with that brotherhood, that feeling of loving exchanges, and bring under the shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And Uddhava, he gives instruction that why don't you go to Badrika Ashram and live simply, bark and take whatever fruit that's easily available, and take bath in Alaknanda river. This is Ganges water that has purified by having washed by his lotus feet. So Lord Krishna is identifying that you should go there and live there, and soon you will come back home. So Uddhava, he expresses, just like Arjuna expresses in Bhagavad Gita, that yes, I have understood this knowledge. Yes, I feel blessed having understood this, and all my anxiety and bewilderment is gone. And he takes to the instructions, with all heart in heart, and he goes to Badrika Ashram. And there he engages in devotional service and finally attains the supreme goal and returns back home, back to Godhead. So this is where Uddhava, right after this, there is one important aspect that is there, where Uddhava does meet Viduji. And when Viduji asks about Lord Shri Krishna, Uddhava again shows ecstatic loving symptoms. Those symptoms like his choking of the voice, perspiring, the hair standing on his hand, and he is looking at all those symptoms, trembling of the body, and faltering of the voice, the choking of the voice, and changing of the body color, and feeling like everything is facing devastation all around. Such is the case, he's saying. And there he sings this amazing praise. Aho bakiyam stanakala kutam jigham saya apayayad apya sadhvi lebhe gatim dhatri uchitam tato anyam kamva dayalum sharanam vrajema. Aho bakiyam stanakala kutam. Baki, the sister of Bakasur. Who is this sister of Bakasur? Putana. So Uddhava is singing this to, Viduji. He is revealing that this Putana, she was envious, Jaghamsaya, Apyayad Azhadvi, and she was unfaithful, unchaste, right? Because she put poison on her breast when she came to milk Lord Shri Krishna. But he is so dayalu that he gave her the position of Dhatri, nurse. He made her associate of Yashodamai, giving her the position of mother. So of course he killed her, but then she was able to go back home, back to God in the spiritual way, and Golok Vrindavan. She became the associate of Yashodamai. So who can be more merciful than the Lord, who even to his enemy he bestows the topmost benediction, accepts, because she came with this mood of a mother to feed him milk, he gives her the position of nurse. So he is completely purified, Uddhava is purified, and learning to this lesson, hearing this lesson, sharing this lesson, and chanting the glories of the holy name, we can get purified. Hare Kṛṣṇa, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Kṛṣṇa. Grantra Śrīmad Bhagavatam ki jai, Śrīla Prabhupada ki jai, Anant Koti Vaishnava Vrind ki jai, Nitaya Go Premanande, Hari Hari Bol. Hare Kṛṣṇa.
Hare Krishna.